For joining us on the show today. Tonight on Beyond the Headlines, Nigeria's diplomatic map is being redrawn and not without controversy. President Tinubu has forwarded 32 new ambassadorial nominees to the Senate, including 15 career diplomats, 17 non-career pigs, and for the first time in years, 10 women making the list. Some names sparking the loudest reactions include Renu Omokri, Mahmoud Yakubu, Femi Pedro, Femi Fani-Kayode, Ifeanyi Ogunwayi, among others. The nominees are expected to represent Nigeria in high-stakes capitals in China, India, UAE, Canada, South Africa, and at missions like the UN, AU, and UNESCO. But opposition parties, including the PDP, call the list scandalous, integrity deficient, and a reflection of what they call the president's values. So is this a bold diplomatic reset or a political reward system? Is Nigeria sending its best or sending a message the world won't applaud? Let's bring in Dr. Yusuf Harun, who is policy analyst and a supporter of the APC. Ken Asogua is Labour Party chieftain who joins us live from Abuja. Gentlemen, welcome to the show and thank you for making it to Beyond the Headlines. Let's begin with Dr. Harun. Interesting development playing out here. Critics describe the nominations as politically motivated. I'm sure you've heard the PDP call some of the names scandalous and damaging to Nigeria's global image. What strategic thinking would you say inspired this list? And how should Nigerians interpret the kind of representation Mr. President is putting forward? Dr. Harun, are you there?
Thank you very much. This is a very, very interesting question. And since when the president released this list of 32 ambassadorial nominees, which were screened by the Senate, there has been mixed reactions. This time, it entails people of different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different religious background, even across party lines. We see people like Renu Omokri, who even contested against the president in 2023. He worked for Atiku Abubakar, the PDP presidential candidate. But you see him, he is among the people who is on the list, and this has also brought reactions, even in the Senate. We also see people who are in PDP, like the former governors, two of the former PDP governors, they are there, Ipeazu and the other one. We also see some people who are relatively, even apolitical. Like you see Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the former INEC boss, who is also among the list. Then we see Fani-Kayode and many other people. So I believe the president is a master strategist and he knows why he has selected people of different backgrounds. Some people might criticize it. Some people might applaud it.
Dr. Harun,
even his former deputy governor.
Even some APC-leaning commentators say this looks like compensation rather than strategy. You talked about Renu Omokri, Mahmoud Yakubu, Femi Fani-Kayode. How do these names translate into diplomatic professionalism abroad?
Yes, the president appointed 17 career ambassadorial nominees and 15 non-career. So there's one thing about Renu Omokri, whether you like him or not. I'm not really a fan of him, but he has a very large platform. That is the reality. He's somebody who has spoken against the presidency and the president himself before the election. But after the election, he says he has accepted the fate and he is speaking in support of this government now. The fact is that Renu Omokri, if you look at his background, particularly on social media like X, like Facebook and Instagram, he has a wide following. So he has a wide audience whom people listen to. I want to take you back to one positive comment he made even after the election during presidency. He did a video of Abuja Airport. And it showed how Abuja Airport is even looking like an international airport, like you are in Dubai or you are in the US or Qatar. And he walked us through on how it is. This is what the presidency needs. The presidency needs people that will paint his image positively, especially those who have relatively dented the image of the presidency, and now they are speaking in favor. This is a strategy. Not everybody understands it.
It's all right.
Everybody would assume that, oh, he should have picked people who have been in APC for 5, 6 years or 10 years. But the president is a master strategist. I myself, I would have loved to be among the list. It is a very good strategy, and I believe that I support him, irrespective of the decisions he makes, because he knows why he chose those people, and he knows what he is planning to do in the future.
You know, some have said that there's a remarkable difference between social media popularity and, you know, the kind of dexterity it requires to be a diplomat at that level. But let me hear from Ken Asogua, who is a Labour Party chieftain, who's also joined this conversation live from our studio in Abuja. Your party, like every other opposition party, has been vocal about this nomination. You call it reward system, and you've accused this administration of running a reward system. But ambassadorial list in the past government, as we've seen, included politically exposed individuals as ambassadors. It's a long-standing practice here in Nigeria. Is this outrage about principle or politics?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to begin by saying that I'm disappointed with the action of Mr. President. I read a release from the presidency today wherein someone was trying to justify this by saying that the president merely exercised his prerogative. And for me, it is quite insulting to the sensibility of Nigerians that this is the justification someone is giving to this anomaly. This reminds me of the same justification that was put out by this presidency when the president went on a pardon spree, pardoning all manner of criminals. It took a very loud outcry by Nigerians before he decided to revisit that pardon, that presidential pardon. And the first statement that came out from this same presidency was that he was exercising his prerogative. Yes, the Constitution gives the Nigerian president the powers to nominate, appoint ambassadors. But in exercising this prerogative, there are fundamental things that should be looked into. First of all, the timing of this appointment is so wrong that for the past 2.5 years that this government has been in power, Nigeria has been missing in international fronts. And it took a threat by a foreign government to invade Nigeria before this president decided to put out representatives of Nigeria abroad. And what is even quite sickening is the character of individuals we are talking about, that it took him 3 years to, almost 3 years, to assemble this kind of characters. I don't want to talk about someone who was a critic of this president in the past and who has now been appointed ambassador. That is the person's shame if he decides to swallow his vomit. I'm not interested in someone who decides to swallow his vomit. I'm interested in the competence and capacity of that individual to represent Nigeria abroad. We all should understand the fact that whoever is ambassador of Nigeria in any country literally is the president of Nigeria in that country.
Mr. Sogua,
so, what this president...
I hear you clearly. Yes, just allow me to butt in for a few minutes, because I have read your party's response alongside with several other opposition parties. My question really is, if political nominees are a long-standing tradition and parties in opposition, as we've seen, have benefited in the past from such practice, what makes this list uniquely objectionable beyond partisan framing?
Yeah, what is objectionable here? I don't have a problem with appointing politicians into ambassadorial positions. It's a practice all over the world. Even in America, politicians are appointed as ambassadors all over the world. But there are politicians, you appoint politicians who have met the requirements for this kind of appointment. The three-man list that was released initially before the 32-man list included someone who had been declared, some point in time, declared wanted by the EFCC, undergoing investigation for about $43 million that they said was missing in his custody. These are part of the people that were appointed. And the man who just supervised the election that brought this president to power in just about 2 years ago has just been appointed as ambassador just about 1 month after leaving office as the head of a supposedly independent electoral commission. So this raises a moral question as regards what transpired in 2023 election. We can't close our eyes to the fact that Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was the chairman of INEC that returned this president as the president of Nigeria. So and that election was a controversial election that was litigated up to the Supreme Court. And you say that you don't care about the feelings of Nigerians. You appointed this individual as ambassador. So my
just a minute, Mr. Asogua, help me understand the morality of the appointment of Mr. Mahmoud Yakubu. What exactly are you implying here?
What I'm implying here is that this is an ambassadorial position. This is a political appointment. And 1 month after leaving office, where you occupied an independent, where you headed an independent institution that supervised the election of this president, 1 month after, this president is appointing you, giving you a political appointment. That is what I'm saying.
All right. Let me get Dr. Harun's reaction to that very quickly.
Is not a career ambassador.
Dr. Harun,
they did not appoint him on his capacity as a career ambassador.
I hear you clearly. You know, we've had opposition parties, not only the Labour Party, even the PDP, single out Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Some have even said it's a reward for a flawed electoral process and a signal to the new INEC chairman for 2027. How do you react to this, even though there's not been any form of evidence to support that claim? But how do you react to this political interpretation?
Well, if this...
No.
With this interpretation, you will not blame anyone that has decided to say that this is a compensation for job well done. But what I'm saying here is that it raises a moral question.
All right.
For the president and the appointee.
That question was actually for...
Even the man who was a critic.
That question was actually for Dr. Harun. I wanted to get his reaction to this position quickly before we go on a break.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Dr. Harun, can you hear us at all?
Okay. Absolutely. I can hear you very well. And I heard your question loud and clear. Yes, there are many political decisions that are taken by the presidency that we look at and we say, why did he take this decision? But my question to those who are asking, I'm not the president and I am not in a position to take such a decision. But the question we have to ask ourselves, without emotions, is it legal? Is it within the ambience of the law? Is it within the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? These are the questions we should ask ourselves without emotions. Yes, this election that just passed was contested up to the Supreme Court level. And what was the outcome? The president was confirmed to be the legitimate winner of the 2023 election. Was Professor Mahmoud Yakubu found to be culpable or guilty according to the law? No. Was there any sign of electoral malpractice which was visible and we could have nullified the election? No. Is the president legal and lawful to appoint someone who has retired as an ambassador? The question is now left for us to answer. So if we look at it in an emotional angle, we would say, oh, yes, he shouldn't have done it.
What about the morality question that he has raised?
Yes, that is why I said if you're looking at it from another angle, especially from the opposition, they would say, oh, is it a reward for the election? But if we are to look at it from the legal angle, the lawful aspect, is it permissible? Is it legal within the law? Okay, look at the United States of America, where we emulate our democracy. President Donald Trump appointed his own biological daughter into his office and cabinet. Was it permissible to do it? Yes. Okay, look at Tanzania. The woman there, the president, she appointed her son-in-law, her daughter, her brother-in-law, all of them into the government. Now, people may ask, morally, is it acceptable? But within the law or ambience of their law, is it acceptable? So many of these things look controversial, but we should also separate emotions from reality. Now, let us look at Peter Obi, who was the presidential candidate of Labour Party. Yes, he also vowed that he would never leave APGA, even when Ojukwu was alive, and he won the governorship seat. He is the same person who attacked the judiciary. He has forgotten, and this is called a selective amnesia. He has forgotten that these same courts, these same judges, were the ones who handed over the governorship to him when Chris Ngige was declared the winner in 1999. It took almost 3 years for him to win his mandate. It was still the same court, which is now saying Nigeria is a shattered nation. Nigeria is a disgraced country. The judges are being compromised. But these same judges gave Peter Obi his governorship mandate. Right. Again, when he was to hand over, after just 1 year, the judge again ruled that he must rule Anambra for 4 years. So why is it that when a law favors us, we are emotional? When it doesn't favor us, we are not? Now, if you are to ask me, should the president do it? I'm not the president. But we should ask, is the president doing something within the law of the Federal Constitution of Nigeria? So that is the big question we should look at. In law, we don't look at emotions. All right. It's just like the Federal Capital Territory. So when there were emotions about it, that, oh, Federal Capital Territory, you must get 2/3. Then we said, okay, let the court interpret it. And the Supreme Court interpreted it.
Dr. Aaron, Mr. Asogua, we are now due for a break, but law or emotions aside, the bigger question to ask is, did we get square pegs and square holes, or do we have the most efficient and credible individuals to represent us outside? And we'll talk more about that shortly. Stay with us, everyone. Asogua, thank you so much for staying the course on the program. Reno Omokri and Femi Fani-Kayode, as well as the former INEC chairman, are one of the most polarizing online figures, in this nomination. And if you take FFK and Reno Omokri apart, they are probably online figures in Nigerian politics that have been praised and at the same time criticized. But how does someone with the digital footprint, with that kind of digital footprint, represent Nigeria without inflaming perceptions abroad? And I want us to speak with, beyond the politics of things and what we think of these men politically, do you think that Mr. President has capable hands on this list? Let me begin with you, Mr. Asogua.
There are no capable hands there. I've not seen a single one. But before I come to that, let me address what.
Hold on. There are 15 career diplomats there. Are they saying that all of them, including the 10 women, it's also the first time that we're going to have 10 women making this list? Are you saying out of the 15 career ambassadors, there are no credible hands there?
Well, pardon me. I am not discussing the career ambassadors because I really don't have their resume.
But they are part of it. There are 32 people on the list. 15 of them are career diplomats.
Yes. I am dealing with the 17 nominees who are not career ambassadors, the non-career ambassadors. And that's what I'm dealing with. I don't have the resumes of the career ambassadors to discuss them. So, so in basing my conversation on the 17 names, I have not seen any single competent person on that list. Because the word there is competence. The Reno Omokri they are talking about, a lot of people are talking about him because he was a vicious critic of this president in the past. I am not dealing with that, like I said initially in my intro. What I'm dealing with is the competence of Reno Omokri to be Nigeria's ambassador in the Committee of Nations, to represent Nigeria abroad as a president of Nigeria abroad. I don't know whatever the mission they are sending him to, but does he have what it takes to be Nigerian ambassador abroad? That's what I'm dealing with.
Mr. Asogua,
and for me,
you know that Mr. Asogua, you know that Reno also campaigned for the Labour Party at some point until his fallout with Peter Obi. Is this anger about his character or about him switching sides? Would you have also maintained this position if he was still a member of your party or a supporter of the Labour Party?
He was never a member. He was never a member of my party.
Sorry,
he was
I meant if he was still supporting your party and its presidential candidate.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to deal with, because this is a hypothetical question that is not in existence. Let's deal with his character, as he was a supporter of P2B.
No, but it is fact that he once supported your party's presidential candidate.
Sorry?
That is not hypothesis. It was a fact that he was supporting your party's candidate. At some point, they fell out. So the question was, would you have taken this side or this position if he was still supporting Peter Obi, a candidate of your party?
You know, I'm telling you here that this question you're asking me, that situation does not arise. Because he is no longer a supporter of Mr. Peter Obi. But Mr. Peter Obi is not the president of Nigeria. He has not appointed him. Reno Mokri was just an admirer of Mr. Peter Obi. He was never a member of Mr. Peter Obi's party. And I'm not in any way, I don't know whether he fell out with Mr. Peter Obi never told anyone that Reno Mokri was his friend. A lot of Nigerians admired Peter Obi in 2023, just like they are still admiring him now. But let's go away from Mr. Reno Mokri. There are a lot of people on that list. I've just told you about someone who was declared wanted in the past by the EFCC. There are governors on that list who were voted out by their people on account of incompetence. These governors contested, the two governors on that list vied to go to Senate in 2023, and their constituents denied them the ticket to go to Senate because they governed shabbily for 8 years in their states. And the compensation is that you go and become ambassador. So what are you going to represent Nigeria to do? When the people, the immediate constituency where you come from, say that you're not qualified to represent us in the Senate, then the president thinks you're qualified to represent us abroad. So these are the things I'm telling you. So there is no single person on that list that qualifies to be Nigeria's ambassador abroad, and it shows that this kind of this is the kind of.
I hear you clearly.
There is something I need to say here.
Okay,
There's
please.
something I need to say, because I was trying to come to what Doctor said about the legality of what Mr. President did and the morality thereof. You see, there is something going on in Nigeria that people are not paying attention to. INEC, I just talked about Professor Mahmoud Yakubu that left INEC. INEC headquarters today is being constructed by the FCT administration somewhere in Maitama. Now, someone is building judges' quarters elsewhere. These are institutions that are independent, that are supposed to form as checks to the ruling part, to the executive. And the executive is constructing a national headquarters for INEC, and nobody is saying anything.
I hear you clearly, but I'm afraid that we are running out of time. Mr. Sogua,
an election where opposition members will participate in.
Allow me to please interrupt you, because you also made mention of the former DG of the NIA. It's important that we tell the complete story, because in addition to what you have said, you remember that when he left office in 2023, President Buhari, acting on some form of evidence, ordered an immediate cessation of his trial. And the EFCC went ahead to, withdraw all charges at the Federal High Court in Lagos. So that's a more complete version of the issue you raised earlier. Dr. Harun, we have to go now very quickly, but we're looking at 17 out of 32 nominees that are non-career diplomats. That's more than 50%. Is this administration inadvertently weakening the diplomatic corps, or you think it's a deliberate strategy? Because there are people from that community who are not also pleased with this decision by Mr. President. We have to go in 30 seconds, if you can do that. Dr. Harun.
So we still have, the presidency still has more ambassadorial nominees names to rule out in the coming future. That is the first thing. Secondly is that the president is not only looking at the external, that is international community, he's also looking at how to balance the politics within the country. And we should know that the president is looking forward to a re-election. He's been strategic, as I said. Some of the things and decisions the president makes, even now, to you and I, we might not fully comprehend, or we might say it doesn't make sense.
So
but I
you admit that this was more of a political decision by Mr. President, Dr. Harun. That's what you're saying.
For the winning of 2027 coming general election.
Good place to leave it. Dr. Yusuf Harun, policy analyst, supporter of the APC, Ken Asogua, Labour Party chieftain. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the program this evening. And that's